You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Chris, the Battered Fans are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 39 of the Battered MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Gannett, and alongside me, I got Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
Listen, this was a fun week of football. Big Ducks coming. Let's go, baby.
Hey, inside jokes, I see. Match day 4. Overall thoughts, Chris. How you feeling with the matchups? I mean, they were better than the last week. And we had a couple big matchups, Miami, Atlanta being the biggest. Your overall thoughts on the week?
Listen, there was calamity on some of the games too. But for the most part, a lot of the teams that we saw play, like we were able to see some other players make big differences. And Tommy 2-time here saying quack, quack. Let's go.
Well, one thing that stood out to me real quick. Yeah. New England Revolution. I thought that this team might take a step in the right direction because they brought in Campana. They had Langoni. Yeah. They have Carlos Gil. I understood that the defense might still suck, but I thought that their attack might be better. Campana's already injured. They've scored throughout 4 games so far this season. They've scored 0 goals. They technically scored 1, but that was an own goal by Diego Martins of NYCFC. Their leading goal scorer is an NYCFC defender, Chris. This is the team that you were hyping up all offseason. Tell me that you didn't buy your son, that New England Campana kid.
Not yet. Not yet. I was planning on – I'm still considering it. I mean, look, it's a good thing that nothing positive has happened, I guess, for him. Listen, New England is a complete dumpster fire at this point.
It's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, it's a complete dumpster fire right now.
One other thing. We're going to talk about Dallas in a second. But Dallas played this weekend, and I don't know what they're doing to that stadium.
Yeah,
but
that's awful.
It looks like COVID times. It looks like the pandemic. It looks like it's fake noise because you don't see where the noise is coming from. It's not loud noises. Like, if anybody has a chance, if you haven't already, go check out the highlights from the Dallas game. And it's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, you'd end up watching it. They played against Vancouver, which is the number 1 team right now, I guess, in the Supporters Shield, the standings. But don't watch it for that. And I know it's construction, but they got to figure out how to do that in the offseason because it looks so bad when you watch it. Like, it's depressing. It's rough to watch.
Well, what I don't understand is why they didn't do that side during the offseason and then do the other side where the cameras are during the games.
The hard cam, as they call it in wrestling.
Yeah, because if at this point, like, you're always going to be looking at an empty stadium, even though it's all viewed from the camera view.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's tarped off. I don't know. I was really surprised that they didn't figure out how to make it look decent. Like you said, at least figure out how to do construction in other parts of the stadium as the season's going on, so it doesn't look so bad. But I thought it was a pretty bad look. But those are my overall thoughts. We're going to get into the recaps. We're going to kind of fly through them, right? We don't want to waste too much time on every single game. Yeah. We try to start with the best games first. But Chris started cooking in the lab. Well, first of all, he cooked up 2 things. The first thing he was supposed to cook up, he said he was going to cook up another sick intro. For those of you that are familiar with Mr. KBD, his intros are legendary. But he hasn't been able to cook one up for the MLS quite yet, so we still have to wait. But another thing that he did is that he cooked up the best goals of the week. KBD's top 5. Chris, go ahead and let him see your top 5 goals of the week.
Yeah. Now, they're not in order. The whole purpose of this was to vote. I'm sorry. Listen, it was for voting purposes, which we'll do something like on Twitter or like the Discord or whatever. But these are the top 5 goals, in my opinion, for the week, not in order. Okay.
And there's no stopping that shot. An absolute.
I didn't even see it, Chris.
But as the ball tiki-takas around, that little touchback across.
There it is.
The first one can't come central. The second one, you cannot allow that much
and
space,
the play
especially
by the color commentary
against one of these attacking midfielders and Hassani Johnson. Unreal. The way that he catches this ball.
Unreal.
Making his 50th MLS.
You should have a second one later on in that game.
Yeah, but that was a banger.
A sensational strike for the German.
And the star for St. Louis has needed to get going this season. And a mistake by Reagan puts him at such a dangerous position. 25 yards out, straight from goal.
In the direction of Ponce. Basse! Not enough pressure put onto him. He's able to set up, and this is where they have to step out and apply pressure. He strikes that so well to the near post.
Willis came for it, but missed. And that second ball belted. It is a scorcher from the third. Jovan Lukic levels matters.
He doesn't commit to it, just comes out. And look at the approach from Lukic. And then Lukic just comes on it. Quality hits, brilliant connection, finds his way into the back of the net.
Here comes from Christian Espinosa to the spot.
That was nice.
A goal. A banger from Chicho Arango.
He and Martinez got caught up, and it was almost a case of too many cooks in the kitchen. But you cannot get enough scoring firepower inside the area, especially down a goal. And right near the penalty spot, he's able to break away from the defender.
In that way, comes back
come
to
back
it
again on Cannon, swing through that ball high and into the goal. And San Jose has leveled with a.
There we go.
I'm surprised that Messi's defensive press, winning the ball at the top of the box, putting one guy to sleep, and then chipping it over Guzan wasn't on there.
So, all right, we do an Inter Miami podcast. I didn't want to show the favoritism on the MLS channel, so I figured
it's not a favoritism when it's a great goal.
I know, but like, I don't want people to think like, these Inter Miami guys, like.
Okay. Yeah. I get it, but those were some nice goals, and if you want, we could start. I thought that it was a good goal. We could start with San Jose. Since you just put up the goal from Chicho Arango. Chicho Arango, surprisingly, we thought that they would be starting the double strike with him and Joseph up top. He wasn't, for some reason, starting up top. He was playing almost like a central attacking midfielder behind Joseph, and I forgot the name of the other striker, Boda. But San Jose, although everybody's really hyped about them, and they are one of the good attacking teams, Amanda, they did fall to Colorado Rapids, and they fell to the Colorado Rapids because Zach Steffen played out of his mind. He had 12 saves. 12. Like he won that game almost single-handedly. Chris, thoughts on San Jose, Colorado Rapids? By the way, Colorado, I know everybody's talking about Vancouver. Yeah, everybody's talking about Vancouver. And I was saying it last week's episode. Mihailovic and Navajo, probably best duo that nobody talks about in the MLS. And Zach Steffen, when he's playing like that, and you have Cole Bassett in the midfield, I think people are underrating Colorado right now.
I think one of the things and it was Boda that was playing like a left wing position. I think what San Jose is trying to do is they're trying to figure out what's the secret sauce. Like, they've been doing good, and different lineups work different ways for them. But I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out what's the secret sauce here to have the best outcome. Period. Right. I mean, this game didn't really pan out for them. They end up losing 2-1 against Colorado, who in reality is a pretty formidable opponent. They end up getting a lot of control in the beginning of the game, San Jose, though. But the issue is Zach Steffen is just a beast. Oh, no, he gets MVP of that game. Yeah. I mean, other than the goal by Arango, they had full control.
And I don't know if they already announced the player of the week. I went looking for it. I saw team of the week. I didn't see player of the week. But for me, Zach Steffen should have been player of the week because he won that game. And if you go back to watch some of those blocks, and I think Chris is going to have something for you guys a little later, but if you go back to watch some of those blocks, they weren't necessarily like easy saves. In the first 3 minutes of the game, he had 2 crazy saves. Yes. So, Zach Steffen had quite the game, and shout out to Zach Steffen because he showed out that game.
Now, just to bring it up, in Colorado, like their first goal was sort of like a funny cross by Mihailovic, but the second goal, it was a great ball, a running behind and San Jose was just snapping. It was 2-on-1 against the goalie, and they scored on him. So,
and coming back to the East Coast, because we usually start with Sunday Night Soccer. Inter Miami, Atlanta United. Now, revenge game for Inter Miami, right? Atlanta eliminated them, embarrassed them, really, right? 9th seed to eliminate the 1st seed, the Supporter Shield winners. They came back, and Atlanta looked like they were comfortable the first 15, 20 minutes. Miami was having a hard time breaking them down. But once Messi got to the back of the net, and once he started tracking back to the midfield, it opened up everything for Miami, and I felt Miami had a great game. And although it was a very entertaining back and forth game, Fafa ended up coming in. And I know we questioned if Fafa should have come in on earlier instead of Kremaki, but he came in, he received a cross from Jordi Alba. He had a facer because they said it was a header. He hit it with his face. And it looked like Brad Guzan was almost caught off guard because he thought that Lazio was going to get his foot on it or something. And he kind of just let it slowly roll to the back post. And that was the game winner. Big win for Miami. Your thoughts on Atlanta-Miami?
I mean, look, right here, Dennis is saying, you mean the Fighting Guzans? Listen, Brad Guzan, another game where he played lights out. It was 100% a facer, according to Dennis Lopez. And luckily, we were able to get that to creep in. The Inter Miami would have been happy with the tie. But when you have contributions like from players like Yannick Bright and from Noah Allen, and obviously you have your Barca 4, right? They made huge contributions as well, if not bigger. It's a good feeling to walk away in an away game with a win, especially this close against a team that they're going to be a formidable opponent, I believe, in the future. Atlanta is Latte La. He's good. He's pretty serious. He's a threat.
Look, the way Miami's playing right now, I've said it for the last couple of weeks. I really do think no team in MLS history has lost less than 4 games in a season. I'm talking about MLS regular season. I'm talking about any other domestic tournaments. I really do think that Miami's going to go through this season losing 3 or less games. I don't think they get to 4 losses. Will they have a bunch of draws? Maybe. But I can't imagine that this team's going to lose more than 3 games just because unless you end up getting littered with injuries, right? As of right now, we know Messi is now injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Honestly, I believe that he'll probably end up missing the LAFC CONCACAF Champions Cup series, the 2 legs. I think maybe he'll be out. Some people are saying 2 to 3 weeks. I think they'd play it safe and wait a month or so. But I think Miami's team is so deep with reinforcements still incoming with Baltasar Rodriguez and Obando that I think that they're going to be just fine. Yeah. Now, earlier Sunday, Portland played against Galaxy. Now, probably don't want to spend too much time on this game. Wasn't the most entertaining. The teams aren't necessarily the best. Portland has 1 win with some David Da Costa magic. I forgot who was that they beat. Was it Dallas? They beat somebody. But not the best of games. David Da Costa, again, he played across to Mora, I want to say, the striker.
Yeah, it was put in by Mora that he ended up putting that goal in. And
Portland took that lead early, and they held it up until Christian Ramirez was at the end of a long pass. It ended 1-1. I think the controversy here was in the 95th, 96th minute.
Well, 2 fouls. One.
Go ahead.
Yeah. One where they fouled Lassiter. Neville flips out, gets a yellow card, and then another foul with
inside the box.
Yes.
With Paredes, he got assassinated by Cáceres from Galaxy, and for some reason they didn't call the penalty. And some people want to call, they were trying to help Galaxy. I don't know. Galaxy, because of this draw, finally have their first point of the season. They were winless. They had 3 losses going into this, and it probably should have been a 4th loss. Yeah. So, because you would assume that Portland could convert on their penalty, so Galaxy escapes. And by the way, after that foul, the ball kind of trickled away, and I think both Galaxy and Portland players thought that maybe it should have been called, so they almost hesitated, and the ball rolled right to Lassiter, your boy. Yeah, and he whiffed. Yeah, he had a shot on goal with basically nobody closing in on him, and he whiffed that also. But it ends up in a draw. Galaxy get their first point of the season. Controversial, I guess, but so goes on life.
I mean, it's nice to see Neville calling out the refs. That's one thing that he's always been good about, that he calls out the refs when he sees something that's not a favor.
Or he calls out Franco Panizo.
I have that shirt.
All right, and then the last game from Sunday, before we go back to Saturday, we're working backwards. The Union and Nashville. The Union, along with Vancouver, I think were the two biggest surprises of the season so far. The Union came out and they just lost their first game of the season against Nashville. Now, I think what Philly's going to be suffering with is what a lot of heavy attacking teams kind of suffer with, and it's when they play against teams that are going to beat them with the long ball. Nashville was constantly beating them in transition, and that first goal by Surridge, where he was in transition, and he took 2 or 3 bodies with him along the way. If you haven't watched that goal already, Sam Surridge, beautiful goal. I mean, it was surprising, 3-1 win against Philadelphia. What's your thoughts on Nashville Union?
Well, it was a card fest to me, right? There was just cards all over the place. And look, no one gets past the stash. And I got some blocks to show for it in a little bit. But there was a lot of great
stash. Philadelphia, that one goal that they scored from Lukic, Joe Willis punched it out, and it was like a melee. Like, he ended up on the ground.
It was.
And it popped out to Lukic and volleyed the crap out of that ball. It was a beauty. Was that one on your top 5?
Yes.
It was, right?
That was one of the top 5, yes.
That was a beautiful goal.
Well, and that was unexpected, right? Like, it happens in like very quick pace. I mean, you had Mukhtar hold El Todd. Look at Soccer Daddy. Mukhtar ends up making a Panenka for a penalty. Yeah, in the PK, and then I mean, there was a couple other plays. You know, you had Surge that had that goal, a great pass from the left back over to Kasim, super awesome play for our post, gets a goal there. So it was a really good form of play for Nashville, that they really needed this.
And Nashville almost gave it up because there was a PK that could have been called in the 61st minute, I want to say, and they didn't get called. And then they did have a PK called on them in the 90 some odd minutes, and your boy Joe Willis blocked it. There was a rebound, and they kicked it, and he got the block while he was on the floor. So, balling Joe Willis, and Nashville gets their second win of the season. And right here, that is saying Kevin Sullivan is getting wasted. He's young.
Yeah, he is.
He 15 now?
Yeah, he's like a baby.
We're gonna have Todd on tomorrow night for our MLS roundtable when we get a bunch of podcasts and we just talk about the MLS. We're gonna ask him about Kevin because I'm curious what Kevin's doing. Is he playing with MLS too? I don't know. MLS
he's gonna cook. He's gonna cook if he does that. But I'll tell you right now, as far as the stops, if there's anything that people like other than goals, it's goalie stops. I do have a video that I want to show. We're gonna show that in a little bit after we cover a couple other games.
Yep. All right, so we're done with Sunday. Now let's work our way backwards. Let's start with what we started in the beginning of the show. NYCFC, New England Revolution. NYCFC has 2 wins, both coming in Yankee Stadium. No surprise, because they have the best home field advantage in the league. Alfonso Martinez had a beautiful scissor kick goal. A ball bounced out to him. He scissor kicked it to the back of the net. NYCFC technically scored 3 times this game because it was an own goal by Thiago Martins, because New England Revolution just can't seem to score. Your thoughts on NYCFC, New England Revolution?
Well, I'm happy that Martinez was able to get a goal. Look, this kid is a problem, Danny. He's going to be a big problem for NYC. NYCFC is really in good hands with him. I just feel so bad for the Revolution, man. They really, I mean, Carlos Hill must be like really hating life right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really hating life. And
Langoni, I got to go talk to John Stone. I have to hit him up because Langoni didn't start. And I thought Langoni was going to ball out this year with Gil and Campana. And he started on the bench. I don't know why.
Well, Tommy, the OG Tommy Two-Time from out in New England is reporting a lot of madness for the New England Revs. There's a lot of like really yucky stuff happening over there. It's just not a good place to be at right now. I hopped on I hopped on a Twitter Spaces for the Revs yesterday, and it was depressing. It was depressing.
You did that, huh?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it just popped up. It's like, oh, Revs. We're talking Revs. You weren't there. Good thing you missed it. And it's like 5 people sitting there talking about the Revs. Like, what? I just walked into a lonely bar. Everybody's here drinking Coors Light. Depressing.
All right. Moving on to.
I should have said Samuel Adams.
That would have made more sense.
Yeah.
San Diego FC, Columbus Crew. Now, everybody's really high up on San Diego. Andre Dreyer is looking like the real deal. But they drew with Columbus Crew. Your thoughts on the San Diego Columbus Crew game?
So San Diego is they're a problem. Like, they're a good team.
And Everybody Lozano has been injured basically since game 2. He hasn't even played, even though I don't expect much from him. But if I'm wrong and everybody else is right, this team could be even better with him down the left flank.
Yes. And the worst part is like everybody thought that this team was done. Like, with the acquisitions that they had, with the people that they drafted, like nobody expected this from them. And they're not even doing the best in the West.
They haven't lost, but they're 2-2, undefeated.
I mean, Columbus, look, they got a quick goal early in the game. It was a cross in the box for a tap in. There was a huge foul by Columbus, and then San Diego just ends up scoring a header off the corner to tie it. So,
well, Max Arfson, because they kept him, that was so big for Columbus. Because when I was doing the preview with Ty, which I think might be joining us tomorrow also to talk Columbus. Max Arfson, when we were doing the preview show, Max Arfson, there was still rumors that he might be heading out of Columbus. And at that point, they had lost Cucho, Christian Ramirez, and Arfson was supposed to be the third that they lost. And if they lost him, they were losing so much. Arfson basically created that play himself because he was in the top of the box. He played it out to the left, out wide. And then when he played out to the wide area, for some reason, the center back kind of trailed behind the right back to the double team. I don't know who the hell, and it left an open space for Arfson to just kind of glide into. Easy. He received the ball, finished it near post. Like, Columbus, Nancy is a good coach, and they're gonna be around. I never thought that they would be bottom of the table. But Nancy's gonna show how good he is this season because the team isn't the same as last year.
It's going to be interesting to get the information from Ty tomorrow when we get him on. Mr. Krause saying, "Bro, Columbus should have lost." I mean, listen, they're not looking that great. Their record looks a lot better than what they actually look like.
Yeah, because that first game of the season, was it against Chicago, where they had that own goal. They had that because the first week was wild. I remember the first week it was just everybody just giving away goals in the back.
I believe it was Chicago. Yes.
Yeah. So that first game that they won wasn't necessarily convincing, but they have looked better since then. Now another, I guess you could say, surprising team, St. Louis, 2 wins, 2 losses, also undefeated. People are hyped because they haven't given up a goal. 4 clean sheets.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on St. Louis, Seattle? And by the way, even though Seattle got shut out by a team that keeps shutting everybody out, Seattle is one of those other high-powered attacking teams, Amanda.
Well, and the talking about high-powered attacking, Seattle, to me, from watching the game, it seemed like they had better control of the game. But St. Louis just takes their chances. They have great counters. They take their chances and they make their chances. I mean, St. Louis made the one and only goal early into the game.
Free kick.
Yeah, it was off a free kick. It was a beautiful free kick. That was the one that I actually was one of the top 5 also in the top 5 package that we just played. I mean, the Seattle player fumbles and falls on the ball for the free kick. To me, it should have been a red card on that player. I mean, I don't know enough, but he literally fell on the ball and put his hand on the ball to stop the play, knowing that it was going to expose the entire space. So,
well, are you talking about at the end of the game? Because Seattle...
No, in the beginning. It was in the beginning.
Okay. Because Seattle was awarded a PK at the very end of the game. It was the 92nd minute. They got awarded a PK. And then they went back to VAR, and they checked, and the ball hit the Seattle player's hand. right before he got fouled. So they called it back. They didn't get the PK, and now they are 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses, which sucks for them because I thought Seattle would be high up in the standings, but now they've lost Jordan Morris, which is out for a few weeks. Paul Arriola is out for the whole season. So, yes, Seattle equals hospital. Seattle is dealing with injuries, and it's unfortunate because, I thought that they would have a good chance to do some big things this year, and they still do because Seattle is one of those teams that's always around even at the end of the season. Somehow they just come alive. It's like the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA, just randomly with nobody. They just dominate for 20 years. But St. Louis, undefeated, boring as hell. Boring. They don't want the ball. They just want to defend and counter. It's boring as hell, but it's working out for them so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Seattle's going to still come around. We'll see them in the playoffs.
And I'm saying, do you think Seattle would give Inter if they were healthy? If they were healthy, because they have a really good defense. They have a great keeper in Frey, and their attack is pretty good. I think they would.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Now let's go on to Dallas, Vancouver. Dallas, they're playing in an empty stadium, basically. You're gonna say something, Chris?
No, I was gonna say Vancouver is great. 4-0-0. They are fantastic. I mean, they looked completely in control in this game, Danny. I mean, the only goal that happened was Blackman
dominated the game.
Yeah, Blackman ended up getting a goal like in the 50. Yeah, okay, right there. It's 54th minute. It was, if I'm not mistaken, off of a cross where he headed it in and was able to convert on that. I mean, Dallas showed little glimpses and stuff, but I mean, Lucho he's got to stop being this one-man band. He's not getting any assistance from what I saw.
No, Dallas they don't look good at all. I'm surprised. I really expected more from Dallas, especially with Lucho getting there. I think everybody was excited to see him out there with Peter Musa, but they've just been subpar so far. I don't know. Not good, and Vancouver just keeps winning.
And Soccer Daddy says new coach is awesome, so that's great. Yeah, okay. I mean,
now
when it works
now
out.
Let's talk about Vancouver a second. Now, because they eliminated Monterrey, I think that got everybody to be like, okay, this team is for real, right? Yeah. But before then, people were doubting it because they beat who? They beat Portland. And I don't know if you remember that game, for the first game of the season, Kamal Miller got a red card in like the 10th minute.
Immediately, yes.
So all of a sudden, they just started running up the score. They scored like 4 goals, and they killed Portland. Then they beat the Galaxy, and the Galaxy isn't very good right now. Then they beat, who else was it? They beat Montreal. Montreal sucks. And then they just beat Dallas, which has been struggling also. So if it wasn't for Monterrey, right, I think people would still be doubting the Whitecaps. And Gauld is injured. Nelson, I believe, is still injured, right? Is Nelson still injured? So they're still missing 2 big pieces. But I still think the people need to start taking them serious because after beating Monterrey and being undefeated, they beat who's in front of them, and they eliminated Monterrey. It's time to take the Vancouver Whitecaps serious.
Yeah, and not only that, but like they're showing that they're a serious team. And last year, even in the playoffs last year, I thought that they were a threat as well, the Vancouver Whitecaps. So,
and for those for those that hate Berhalter, the Chicago coach, his son plays for the Whitecaps, and he's balling also.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely balling. And the reason I brought that up is to transition over to the Toronto-Chicago game. Berhalter, they get their 2nd win of the season, Chicago Fire over Toronto. I don't know if there's too much we want to say because Toronto is just really, really bad. They scored first off of Bernadeschi cross to Kerr, finished it with his head, and that was basically it. Chicago basically had the game after that. Kuiper should have had a hat trick. There was one that he went just wide on, which was a one-on-one opportunity, and then another one that got called back, I think, because he was offside.
Yeah.
Chris, Chicago, Toronto, your thoughts, because Toronto is just bad.
Well, Insigne was apparently practicing recently. So apparently he's at least getting into gear in terms of what I mean. Kuipers, he walked the goal.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Soccer Daddy said Nelson is back.
Yeah. Kuipers actually walks a goal in past Johnson. Like, who the hell is paying attention? Bernadeschi, from what I saw, is like literally carrying his team. And also, I just wanted to mention something. Johnson, he looks depressed as hell.
Oh, Sean Johnson, yeah.
Okay, Sean Johnson is still, we're still on Sean Johnson watch, guys.
Sean Johnson is a great keeper. I would take Sean Johnson on a team that needs a keeper right now. Sean Johnson is still a good keeper.
Listen, TFC Stadium under construction, that whole team needs to be, whole organization needs to be under construction.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel so bad. Bernadeschi's carrying the whole team. And Kuipers is looking like a beast. And they almost hit an Olympico on Johnson. Like, Johnson had to save it. Like, it was a disaster.
Yeah. If any of you guys missed our first episode like 2 weeks ago, Chris just had a montage of just Sean Johnson reaction face
I didn't
pictures.
get the pictures. I did all these videos and I didn't get no pictures. Jeez.
Because Sean Johnson's his face after every goal is just more and more depressing. I feel for him, man, because he was such a good keeper, and he's just being wasted away over there in Toronto. All right, let's see. Let's move on. Let's finish off here. LAFC Austin. LAFC not looking good so far this year. Dolo ball is boring ball. This is not the same LAFC team that people used to be excited to watch because they're just boring. Although this past weekend they actually held the possession. I think Austin just let them have the ball for the majority of the game. They still couldn't do anything with it. Austin got a quick header off a corner, I believe it was, early in the game, and that ended up being the difference. And there was, oh my God, his name starts with a U.
Uzuni? It was Uzuni, or
He had 2 clear shots at goal in like a span of like 45 seconds.
He blows it on the 57th minute.
Blew both of them. This should have been at least 2-0. LAFC not looking good so far this season. Your thoughts on LAFC Austin?
Yeah, I mean, other than that, like Uzuni blowing that kick later in the game. I mean, look, Austin turned it over. Also, like in the middle of the first half, where LA almost could have gotten a goal, but they just didn't put it. They didn't put it in the back of the net. Dennis Lopez is saying LAFC is a boring, and Soccer Daddy saying Boba is going to LAFC. We're gonna have to see. And shout out to Dude Abides. Much love. Let's move on, Danny. This game was a disaster. Even though Austin is starting to look more like how they did a year or so ago. So I'm kind of happy to see that Austin is like kicking it into gear a little bit.
The most entertaining part of that game might have been when Timothy Tillman kind of undercut the keeper for Austin, right? And then he got pissed, got up, things got a little chippy. He shoved him down to the ground. That was probably the most entertaining part of that game. Not very entertaining. All right, now one of the heavy hitter games from the week: Charlotte FC and Cincinnati. Now, Chris, just last year, I found out that Cincinnati is also called the Queen City. Blew my mind. I had no idea that we had 2 Queen Cities in this country. I thought Charlotte was the Queen City. Apparently, this was the battle of the Queen Cities. And Charlotte, the team that I think is outside of Miami, the best team in the East, went ahead, took care of business, beat Cincinnati 2-0. Your thoughts on Charlotte, Cincinnati? Which, by the way, Zaha had a couple good opportunities on goal because Yedlin fell asleep and kind of just Zaha was taking advantage of little Yedlin there.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel really bad for Cincy because their defense was completely sleeping it. Like they were just sleeping completely. Actually, Charlotte caught the D sleeping, and basically Ajiman just slices through the middle off of a great pass for the goal. Ajiman's looking serious for the second goal. The first goal was a quick counter.
Was terrible because
off to the races.
It was Cincinnati trying to clear the ball, but they tried to clear it with a weak header.
Yes.
Literally landed at the feet of, I want to say it was Abada. And Abada took the ball and just booked it all on his own. On his own. It's like blinders on. And then he got to, I want to say towards the right side of the box.
Yes.
Far post, easy.
Yes, it was beautiful.
And it was 0-0 at half. Second half started, and in the first 5 minutes, second half, 2 goals, bang, bang. Game was over. Charlotte's defense is showing up.
They actually showed a nice clip over the weekend of how it looked at Bank of America Stadium. And from my experience, when I went to watch Charlotte live, their fan base is like lit. They are really, really good cheering, fans, and they're hectic. They're live. It's a really, really good atmosphere. So shout out to Charlotte FC for showing out like that.
I didn't know that they did the Pepas song.
Yeah. Which, I mean, at this point, like, who doesn't do the Pepa song?
Well, that's all I'm about to say. Maybe it's because obviously, right? Everybody knows their local sports thing.
Yes.
I know the Pepas thing is such a Miami Heat thing. For those of you that are watching that wasn't aware, like, it's a very fourth quarter Miami Heat thing, playing that Pepas song. So I thought it was. I had never seen it at another stadium, but the way they were doing it, they were kind of holding arms and jumping up.
Yes.
I thought it looked pretty cool. I'm excited. I plan on going out there in September. For my birthday, so I'm excited to see Charlotte over there.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And somebody said that Charlotte is bad. Charlotte is not bad. Charlotte is going to be, if not, I think Miami ends up first in the East. But if they don't,
Charlotte's top 3.
It will be Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte's gonna be top 3. Charlotte is that good because of their defense. They have the best keeper in the league, and now they play the counter. But they have weapons to play the counter with. Abada, Zaha, and Ajimang with Pep Biel behind them. They have a squad. Don't sleep on Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so what's going on, John Rollins? John, tell me, do you think Charlotte is legit? Because some people in the chat think that they are not legit. I'm telling them, outside of Miami, I think Charlotte is the best team in the East. While we move on to the next game. And why not? We were just talking to John. New York Red Bulls, Orlando City SC. For those of you in the chat that were asking for another good attack, Orlando is another pretty good offensive team that could put up some goals. Chris, your thoughts on the Red Bulls Orlando City game, which I thought was pretty one of the more entertaining games of the week. And John said Charlotte, sadly, yes, is a decent team.
Yeah, and he also says they legit. Look, speaking of attack, Orlando ended up countering like pretty early into the game where Ojeda ends up blasting a goal in. I mean, it was a good showing out for Orlando. It's a tie, very Red Bulls-y sort of game. And Choupo-Moting actually ends up scoring a penalty to tie for Red Bulls because the ref said F Orlando. They called a penalty on him. I mean, it's just a sort of a back and forth thing. The video that I'm going to play later, guys, the game that had the most sort of entertaining goalie blocks were in that specific game, Red Bulls versus Orlando. Other than that, I mean, there was a couple other plays that were sort of very chippy sort of plays in the game. Orlando ends up scoring their second, goal. Red Bulls were sleeping. It was a 1v1 deal. And then all of a sudden, you had a tie game.
And that second, the first Orlando goal was a banger. That golazo. And then the second one, I was 100%. I think even Pasalic thought that he was offside because he was so wide open. I have to go back to see who kept him onside, but he was completely wide open. Quick one-on-one, easy finish. So those were the 2 goals for them. The PK for Choupo-Moting. You talked about the I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name. Gengar. There was another opportunity where Gengar had where he was going down the right side, on the right side of the box, and he had Choupo-Moting on the left. But because he had already scored, I think he was feeling himself. Because I think he scores if he lays it off to Choupo-Moting to the left. And instead, he went ahead and he took the shot anyway. But entertaining game, I thought. One of the more entertaining games of the week.
Oh, for sure. It had offense. It had defense. It was a tie, so nobody walked away with anything other than a point. John Rollins is saying we definitely could have won or lost. The tie was probably fair to both sides. Absolutely. That's why this game is probably one of the most competitive and entertaining games of this past weekend. So
And if there's a team that's going to be happy rocking away with a draw, it's going to be the visiting team. So Orlando going up to New Jersey and getting a draw, I'm sure that they're happy. And 1-1-2 for Orlando, 1-2-1 for. And
I'm sure Orlando's very happy about this.
Finally showing up, Muriel. I remember I went last season, and I was saying, look, that was a very great
1 goal, 3 assists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
about to say one, but still, that's much more that he was giving you last year. Muriel, I thought was a huge disappointment last year. But we're gonna run through this one real quick. DC United, Montreal, no goals. DC United, I think, should have at least 2 wins. I forgot how it was that they lost that they drew that first game of the season. Technically undefeated, and Montreal is just a bad side.
Yeah, well, Montreal looked better this week than they did in previous weeks, and Benteke is just doing his Benteke thing, just manhandling everybody around him.
I didn't watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no idea what happened.
He ends up scoring a goal in the 26th minute, but they called it back.
Oh.
I believe it was for a foul or an offsides. I'm not sure exactly what it was for, but
I did not. I have no idea what happened here. I apologize, DC United and Montreal watchers or viewers. I don't know. This was a rough watch. I did not watch. Now, we're gonna finish up. We got 2 more. I got Houston Dynamo, RSL. Chris, thoughts on RSL? They were wearing their checkered, beautiful kits. I'm still looking to find the bootleg of it because I'm not going to spend $150 on it. But I will buy the bootleg and rock it on the show whenever I find it because I absolutely loved it. Your thoughts on RSL, Houston Dynamo?
Well, I mean, for Houston, I hate their song celebration, but one of their goals scored by Ponce appeared in our top 5 goals, which was just a beautiful, beautiful goal off of a free kick. Other than that, RSL, they basically were shredding Houston. Like first minute, they end up scoring a goal. Goncalves ends up scoring. Now, McLean, he gets a free kick, and he crosses to get the header for another goal basically to be able to get it in. Luna, and he headed it off, attempt to shoot on goal as well. So Diego Luna was able to get a goal towards the end of the first half. I mean,
Diego
other
Luna
than that,
looks like a maniac. When you look at him, just look
he
at him.
Plays like reckless.
Well, he looks like he's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Like I would love to just see him out in the world.
Yeah.
Like he's a crazy person.
Yeah. Luna, Callie Rex is saying Luna. Yeah.
He looks like he's a maniac. I don't know what. There's something about his look, his hair, the hair color. Like he just looks like a crazy.
Oh, it's everything. He looks like a Dragon Ball Z character. That guy.
I would love for him to play on a team that I root for because he seems like he's just an easy guy to just want to root for. He's a crazy person, and there's a crazy header that he scored this week. But he scored that header. Houston got a goal taken away. I think it was Bassi that scored it. It was a beautiful goal from outside the box.
Yeah.
But because it was off a rebound, I want to say, and Houston still had some players that were offside because everybody had already started progressing back to the middle of the pitch. Bassi got the ball somehow, scored, and they called it back. And Real Salt Lake, 2 wins, 2 losses, and Houston is still winless. Houston's not looking good right now.
No. And if I'm not mistaken, last game we're going to go over is SKC versus Minnesota. Oof. 6 total goals, Danny. For me, it was the tale of 2 halves. You had Minnesota to control complete first half.
And the first 65 minutes, Minnesota was in control.
Yes. And then Sporting KC said, we're going to make our comeback over here, my boy. And they ended up making a comeback, walking away with a tie. I mean, again, like I said, it's basically 1 half for the other, 1 half for Minnesota and 1 half for SKC.
Now, here's the thing. So I wasn't sure what exactly happened, right? Because Minnesota doesn't play possession. They play the counter, okay? But they dominated for the first 60, 65 minutes. So I hit up the Loon City podcast that joins us on every once in a while, And I was like, could you tell me like what exactly you feel happened? First of all, it started snowing. They had to switch to the orange ball, which is always a cool thing to see.
It's snowing over there. What's going on?
I know. So for those of you that don't get to see that, go ahead and check out the game or the highlights or whatever. It's always fun to see the orange ball. But so that happened. But when I was talking to the guys, they told me what happened was they don't play possession, but for some reason they subbed out Aluwase, which is the goal scorer. How many goals did he score? He only scored once. He scored twice. He had a brace.
Yeah.
They subbed him out. And they didn't tell me the specific the subs, but they blamed the subs and the fact that they just for some reason decided to try to hold possession.
Yeah.
And instead of playing their regular brand of ball. And all of a sudden you get KC to score 1 goal. They put in an own goal, and then Joveljic gets a turnover, I believe, right? He's pressing, gets the turnover, and takes it himself. Left side of the box, far post. Like they just imploded, and it's got to be rough. And well, go ahead, tell me what you think.
No, I mean you gave a perfect explanation. That was as best as it could be put. Yeah, Minnesota dropped the ball big time.
They did drop the ball big time, and Will from MLS Moves went on Twitter, and he started bashing the KC account and fans because they were celebrating. He's like, you guys haven't won all year and you're celebrating because you guys got 1 point. I think he's off base on that one. Yeah. If you end up losing 3-0 through 65 minutes, 3-0, and in the last 25 minutes you salvage a point, I think that's okay to celebrate.
That's cheerable. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You haven't done anything all year. You haven't won any games. I get it. You still haven't won. You don't want to be overly excited, but
you didn't lose.
Yeah, you got 3 goals in 25 minutes.
Yeah,
that's pretty exciting. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I like that they did that because it was a great comeback. It was wild. You don't see those type of comebacks in 25 minutes very often.
Well, I don't know if you want to jump to the next one, or we could be able to put the video of the post of the week.
Oh, no, go for it. Go post of the week because
just so that way we can have a little breath in between categories. So, guys, I put up a video. I have put together a video of the top of all the shots that hit the post this week. We call it the post of the week.
Off the post.
Hold on. Let's
rewind that. Going for goal off the post. Pulled it back and then fired in off the stick. It's Fabian Herbers stinging the post, and Herbers stings the crossbar. It is Evander, and it's a good effort.
Oof, that was wild. Evander's a monster. I don't know what's going on.
Lifted in, great ball, the back post, and it comes off the post.
But it's still Surridge off the post.
Oyumba from distance. Oh, hit the crossbar. Maybe a touch from Rio Snowball.
Yeah, man. Post of the week. Those are always fun, right? Because the majority of the time, once you get post shots, those are usually like could have been golazos.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's why it's always fun to watch them because those were potential golazos that it's the keeper's best friend.
Thank you, Mr. Krabs. Wait till you see the last video I got. If you guys like those videos, wait till the last video. The last video is definitely going to be good too.
All right. So now I know everybody kills us when we put these up, but go ahead.
And that's right. I forgot to name it. It's actually not the post of the week. It's actually Sean Johnson's best friend of the week.
So, people give us crap when we talk about this, but it's the power rankings, the MLS power rankings. Yes. I know that they mean absolutely nothing, but they're a conversation starter. So just real quick, Miami's on top, expected, right? Because they haven't lost yet. Vancouver also hasn't lost yet. They've worked their way up the spots. Philadelphia drops down because they lose. LAFC, I have no idea what the hell they're doing there.
I don't know what they're doing at number 4. What?
I don't know what they're doing there. Charlotte is at 5, moving on up. Columbus I'm okay with that. 6.
Yeah.
San Diego at 7. St. Louis at 8. Minnesota drops down to 9. And Colorado at 10. I have a feeling Colorado's going to keep shining. People sleeping on Colorado. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Colorado. Mihailovic, Navajo, you got Bassett in the midfield. And don't sleep on Colorado. Chris, thoughts on the power rankings and what would you change?
I think the only thing I would change is I'd put LAFC at number 10, and everybody else I would just move up 1.
I wouldn't have LAFC in the top 10, period. Crash the car.
If I keep it this way.
Vancouver should be number 1. Do you think that Vancouver should be number 1 since they're the only team that's 4-0? I mean, that's a good argument, right? If they're the only team that's won every single game.
I mean, but then again, look at the teams that they're facing. Like you said, Danny, you mentioned they play who they play, and play. You can
only beat who's in front of you,
right?
Right.
So I get that, but then if you compare the opponents that they played versus Miami, I think it's a little debatable to be able to say that Miami's played tougher opponents.
Right, because before Vancouver eliminated Monterrey, I don't think people were taking Vancouver that seriously, right? Even though on this show, we were like, no, this team is probably for real because of their attack. People weren't taking them seriously because it was Portland, 10-man Portland. It was the Galaxy, which are a shell of themselves. It was Montreal. And then this past weekend, who was it? I just blanked. Dallas.
Yeah.
So but Monterrey made everybody take notice. But I don't think these power rankings take into account the Monterrey.
I think Vancouver is fairly placed, considering number 1, they're undefeated, like wins wise, and on top of that,
I would be okay with Vancouver being number 1. Look, you're the only team that's won all 4 games.
Yeah, they deserve it. They've won, right? But again, I can understand why they're sitting at number 2. Yeah. And Crash the Karsh is also mentioning something very heavy here, Messi bias. I could definitely see that.
Into Miami, but I mean, that's why these power rankings are tricky, because you say Messi bias. I don't know what the LAFC bias is, but there's got to be a bias there, because there's no reason LAFC should be all the way up there. But I could definitely see a Messi bias, because I could see the team that's 4-0. Probably if Vancouver goes 5-0 this weekend, they're going to be number 1 because Miami doesn't play this weekend.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Vancouver immediately goes to number 1 next week if they go 5 wins, no losses, and Vancouver. And then French bias for LAFC. Okay, I can see that. French bias.
Okay.
Can you imagine Pogba going over there?
It would be problematic. It would help them for sure. But then wait, you got Giroud? Yeah, like
Giroud doesn't even start.
I don't even know.
And you would have to get rid of either under, or you would have to you'd have to get rid of under.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they already have all their 3 DPs.
Yes, that's correct.
I don't know what mess they got going over there. All right, team of the week. This was the team of the week. We're not really too much to talk about it. It's just to put it out there, just in case anybody hasn't seen. I can't pronounce the guy from Minnesota's name. I tried earlier, Osalaway or Surridge, Messi, Luna, Atuesta, Lumen. Who is that? Vela.
One of the goals.
What's the kid's name from?
I can't zoom in on that. Valakari.
Valakari. He's the one that has the header. He should have had a second header. You had Gutman.
Blackman. Gallagher.
And Stefan, obviously. And as the subs, you had Sirois, Kessler from St. Louis, Zimmerman, Nashville, Anelli from RSL, Sebastian Berhalter, Joveljic from KC, Alonso Martinez, NYCFC, Choupo-Moting from RB Red Bulls, and Ajimang from Charlotte. Anybody that you would have put on there, Chris, that didn't make the team?
What I would have done is taken Zach Steffen's picture, blown it up, and just put it right in front of everybody's, because he's like the man of the MLS this weekend.
And real quick, this I wasn't aware, so thank you for this. Calorex said under is only 5 months loan. He's not permanent. Okay. So during the summer, maybe they do. I mean, they need that spot anyway for Griezmann, right?
They would need it for sure. They would need it. Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody wants Pogba anyway. I know that he's like 31, but he hasn't played in like 3 years.
I mean, look at this. Michael Pelly is saying if LAFC get both Pogba and Griezmann, they should do everything to bring in Zidane to manage the LA French club.
But they would have to get rid of Denny Bouanga.
Yeah.
Which they might.
Wait, but Denny Bouanga isn't he French?
Yeah, but he's not one of the boys.
Well, he's going to be out of there. He's going to be out of there soon. I mean, he's going to get moved up to someplace in Europe.
Brian White, he's saying, should have been on the top team. Brian White had an opportunity at a goal, which I thought he was going to completely smash to the back of the net. And instead of hitting it, because I don't know why I envisioned it before it happened. I thought he was going to hit it one time, and then he let it bounce. And it bounced too far ahead of him. Couldn't get a good foot on it. And yeah, I know that Bouanga is French, but there's like different French, right? It's like Messi hanging out with Di Maria and then talking about, I don't know, give me another Argentine that is nowhere.
Almiron?
No, he's
Almiron. What's this kid? The one that went to the Brazilian league. The one that went to the Brazilian league.
You get what I'm saying? Just because Almada. Almada's good though. But like it's not the same. They're not like, come on. It's not the same. All right.
Well, you mentioned Brian White. I thought he was out of favor with US fans.
With the US team, not with US fans.
Yeah. Okay.
And thank you, Almada.
Yeah. Now I do have one more video unless you're gonna get to the final thoughts.
We could do the video and then we'll do the final thoughts and we'll wrap it up. Let people see your last video before we get to the final thoughts.
All right, guys. So I put it together. This is the last video. And before I put this, guys, put a like down there. Tell your friends to subscribe. Come on, I just saw one of you guys leaving. All right, stick around here, guys. This video is going to be cool. Okay, it's going to be good. It's all the acrobatic goalie blocks put together.
And Crash, I agree. I agree. They should. I would get rid of Giroud before I get rid of Bouanga.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's a video. It's about 2 minutes and change of all the acrobatic blocks.
And Johnson keeps it out.
Let's give Johnson his respect.
And Johnson keeps it out. His options. Glasgow. Sean
Johnson again?
Rescue.
On the right foot, plays this ahead. Shot saved by Galese. Able to whip this in. Header by Choupo-Moting. Saved by Galese. The back heel. Nielis with the shot save made by Galese. Muriel, long range, looking for a lane to shoot. He does. Parried away. Coronel.
I think this might have been the best game of the week.
Shot save. Enrique with a chance for the win.
That's when he could have dropped it off the shoot.
Picks up Santos. Kick save that time.
Bouanga, they let him go for goal. Stuver. Bouanga, big save from Stuver. Benteke winds one up, lifts it to the far post. In comes Stroud, and it will be Bryce Duke, repelled by Kim.
Bryce Duke.
Trigger himself. Kalina makes the save. He'll let it fly, and Christian.
Kalina's a monster, man.
Saha going for goal, forcing a good save out of Celentano. Evander from a long way out, and Kalina makes the save. That's a delicious ball in, and it's met by
Coronel saves the rest. Let's save the rest also a bit, John.
Driven in low, saved by Polskin. The up today, and this Betcher trying to wrap it up. Saved by Fry.
Chance to shoot from distance. And Berhalter with the curler and Paz with another save.
Next week is Berhalter versus Berhalter.
He goes for goal and Paz makes the save.
Looking for a response. Diogo knocked down here. Diogo looking for his second shot, deflected away by Jimmy Maurer.
The Russell row. Big save by
I love this guy's play-by-play.
Lays it down for Dreyer. Schulte. Della Torre. Wouldn't that be fitting? Torre again to Valacari.
Joseph Martinez on the left foot. First stop. Rebound is there. It comes from Espinoza. Low driving ball. Back heel towards Espinoza was charging. The shot and another save. Stride inside the box. Big save. Trying to tee himself up. There it is. Steffen the save again.
Martinez in space.
What a save by Steffen.
Danley. Stead surge for the the second time it flicked on. Gastag! And when flicked in, oh, it was dangerous there. Sullivan saved by the...
Ooh, that's the double block.
The
double. The boy Joe Willis.
With the cross. And Barry gets a touch in it. Left leg goes for goal. He gets the return. I said almost.
Allende into the middle. An important touch. Will lead it down right to Messi.
Fucking Guzan, dude.
Messi into Suarez. Back to Messi. Turning on. Run. Oyumba from distance. Allende is in. Heavy touch from Allende. Took it. Messi around Gregerson. Again.
I had to end it where it said, "Oh, Guzan again."
No, man, Guzan, man. When he plays against Miami, that boy wakes up. Yeah, great stuff, Chris. And yeah, man. If you haven't already, subscribe. We're trying to. Like what we've been saying it for, we've been doing this for what, 7 months. Want everybody to start watching more MLS, be more aware of what's going on. I know a lot of people know what's going on in the EPL, La Liga, all this other stuff. We got a great league also. It's very fun. A lot of great players. And, we're going to keep growing. So, Chris, appreciate you as always. Any final thoughts on this Match Day 4 recap?
Well, it's going to be another fun week. It's going to be a week without Seattle, I believe, and Inter Miami, but it's still going to be a fun week nonetheless. I think it's we're going to have some good games to cover.
14 games coming up this week. International break, so a lot of international games going on. So a lot of football going on. It's going to be fun as always. And we'll be back tomorrow. We got the roundtable. We're going to have a roundtable of MLS podcaster talking MLS. And then on Thursday, we'll be doing our predictions for the upcoming week of MLS. And Chris is going to put his money where his mouth is like usual. So that should be fun. So if you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. There's a new MLS show that we're cooking up 2-3 times a week, talking all things MLS. And for those of you in the chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour. You guys are the best part of the show. And we hope that you continue to join us on these live shows a couple times a week. Appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. And we'll be back tomorrow for our roundtable discussion. So until the next one, have a good one.
Bye, Sean Johnson.